uppercut, uppercut, sonic boom. Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough indeed to be doing it too. Do you want a 6x spray a vector and just rip people to shreds at 150 meters? Come along, let's talk. I've got some stuff I want to talk to you about, and why you should do it, how much fun it is, how I think it's actually an incredibly underused part of the possible meta on Sanhok, and I'll show you. So you start out with the vector, it's great. The iron sights in the vector are actually very, very nice. I like them a lot. And then I tend to use a red dot, or if that fails, obviously a 3-scope. I spray a lot with a 3-scope with a lot of different weapons. And then you go from there to spraying with a 4-scope, which is pretty good. And you can see that is at, how far away is that? Measure that one for me, Bushka. That is 167 meters. Pretty handy, that one. Pretty good. And then you go and start spraying at massive ranges with a 6X. This is a 6X, fully dialed in, on the move, not proning, not kneeling, not listening the recoil, running the right stuff to get it done. Now, that's really, really important. You'll notice that in most of these videos, I'm not running a suppressor on my vector. Everyone loves running suppressors, particularly on the vectors, because it does have a real value when you're using an SMG, because it's so soft. You can actually get things done with it and not be spotted when you're spraying at long ranges. So I understand that. But if you run a compensator, you will quite simply be a lot better in terms of actually hitting your targets and getting your sprays right. The other thing I want to talk about is I run a vertical foregrip for this. Now, if you are just using a vector in very close, short ranges, of pretty much any grip will work, but at long range, you really need to grab that vertical recoil and rip the guts out of it. And the best grip for that is the vert grip. And it's a rare one to use when spraying, although you will get away with it on an M416, but let's be honest, you'll get away with anything on an M416. Why would you use a vector over an M416, and why do I think it's an underrated part of the meta? I'm glad you asked, because I have important things to say. The vector, SMGs in general, have what you would call explosive damage. So a vector's base damage is 32, okay? When you hit a level 3 vest, it does 14.4 damage. But an arm hit from a vector will do 19.7. A leg hit from a vector will do 18.8. That means that if you're spraying someone and they've got a level 3 vest at range, you can't always be sure that you're going to tag the chest area. And where that might not be such a big deal when you're running a M416 or something, with a vector, you're actually doing massive amounts of damage when you spray into legs and chest areas. And look at the way the little thing just sits on the target like a big dog. Now, the vector got nerfed in terms of rate of fire, but in terms of actual usability, it got a real pickup in the SMG patch. I think that was 6.5. Call me crazy, but no, 16.0. Sorry, I was thinking of another game. The rate of fire in the vector now is 0.305. Why would you possibly spray with a M416 over a vector? Well, a lot of people love the shell velocity, and that's a real thing. You can see in certain instances that's very important. Look at this target. This is a long way out, right? That is a long way out. And where the M416 is so valuable is it's got a very, very good shell velocity. So if you want to spray an M416, it is easy to keep the target in front of the scope. But if you are just a little bit behind, you can see the vector, you've really got to make sure you lead that target. And it's not until I actually get the gun all the way across to the left side of the target and start leading it correctly that we get the kill. And then, of course, it doesn't matter if they sit still. Even with a red dot and aim assist, it's tremendously helpful on those kind of sprays. So that is a negative on the vector. But the positive is that incredible recoil is so easy to get. The other thing is, this is really only Sanhok as a meta. Like, that guy's moving around all over the place and we still absolutely wrecked him. He's going to go down this window. This has got to be, it's 120 meters right to the edge, and it's probably another 10 or 13. That's close to 150, and that knocked him out. You see how we were taking damage there? That's, okay, watch this. This is the shell velocity, because my shells are in the air and it takes them a lot longer to get there than his shells take to come and hit me. And you can see, look, that's a 6X. It's a full 6X, and there's a lot of recoil and a lot of movement, but you can still get it back on target, and it fires so much so fast. So look at me taking damage here. Even though he's knocked now, right? Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. I've pulled back, reloading, and my shells are still in the air on the way to the target. Do you see that? I'd finished my rounds, was taking damage, and I've started reloading before the last bullet actually got there and knocked him. And that's because shell velocity is really important. And the reason it works so well on Sanhok is quite simple. On Sanhok, the Vector can be geared up incredibly quickly, and there is an abundance of 9mm everywhere. You can see I'm running at times up to 500 rounds, 600 rounds of 9mm. You get to boot camp, it's a resource-rich environment, you rip out of there, you've got Vector, you've got a vertical foregrip. I was running double Vector for the most part, and you can run 33 in the clip. That's outstanding, right? That means that you can really go to town. If you're playing on Erangel, you don't get the same amount of gear. You don't get as many SMGs. You don't get the resource-rich environment that makes it easy to kit a Vector up all the time. There's a lot of other weapons that you prefer, and you end up not getting them all the time. So I've actually had a lot of struggles trying to get to grips with this as a meta on Erangel. But on Sanhok, 9mm everywhere, lots and lots of compounds, lots of very, very rich environments, and it's very, very easy to get a hold of. The other thing that is much better for Sanhok is that it's it's an SMG. So you're doing a lot of these engagements where you're running around, and there's another big 6X spray. Kashak C with the Vector. You're running around, and the SMG has a lovely mobility benefit. So where on Erangel you're actually jumping in a car and running all the time, the Vector on Sanhok has a mobility benefit. So when you're using an SMG, you move faster than you are when you're using an AR or a DMR for that matter, or an LMG. If you're running around with a DP28, you're really going to run very slowly in comparison to a Vector. And that is a real benefit on a map where you don't really use vehicles very often. And look at this. That's a full 6X spray into two guys pushing us. Rekid 13727. Yep. All that happening. Sensitivity-wise, it's really, really important that you adjust your scopes correctly. Now, the only way you can do that is to go into your sensitivity settings. There's another full 6X spray, man. Just crackers, hey? Is to go into your sensitivity settings, and this is even better. This is in the gloom of Sanhok on a mountain. So we've just killed this guy, and he was real, and he was crawling around, and we're like, his buddy has to be out there somewhere. So I take it down to a 3X because obviously on Sanhok, it's very, very hard with all the smoke and the fog at times to see targets. So you're looking for just someone moving around from hard cover to hard cover. There he is. And it sits very, very nicely. So if you want to get your sensitivity settings sorted, you need to get to the range, and you need to try this weapon with the exact loadout I mentioned, with a vertical foregrip, a compensator, a tack stock, and an extended quick draw mag for SMG, a 6X, and then work on your sensitivity. Now, you don't want to touch your camera sensitivity. What you want to really work on is your ADS sensitivity. You've got to adjust it until it's the right level for you to be able to comfortably go full auto with a 6X scope. Now, I have mine at about 12-14% on my 6X. Depending on the kind of gameplay I'm having, I might put it up to 16% if I'm running a Vector with a 6X scope. But I would not go any higher than that. I would suggest that you start it on a very low level and work up. You will find that it is very, very easy to get a 30%, 40%. And those guys who use gyro know this already. Gyro, I'm not really talking to gyro users, and I'm not saying that the Vector should supplant like the great fun long-range weapons as well. You can see here I'm running the M24 too because I love running an M24. I love a bolt-action sniper rifle. I was actually running the 6X full spray just for this video. This is Erangel. I had a lot of trouble. Just, you can see I've got enough ammo now, but this is late game. There's only 11 people left, and we couldn't find anyone. I was spending so much time looting, trying to get parts that, yeah, didn't end up getting it. The other thing is a kill time, right? The Vector's kill time is classically brilliant, but it's dropped to 0.305 in a recent patch. Its rate of fire is 0.061. Your M416 full spray is 0.38 of a second to kill. So that's a lot. That's like 0.75 more than a Vector at zero range. But at long range, I would suspect the Vector starts losing a little bit of that edge because obviously the shell velocity is so much slower. Where the Vector makes up for that is in that explosive damage, where it can actually do great things to people late game that are wearing level 3 armor because it is so effective at hitting limbs and arms. Like if you're hitting a Vector with, you're hitting someone in the leg with a Vector, it's basically doing more damage than, and they're wearing level 3 armor, you're basically doing more damage, 0.4 more damage than an M416 hitting them in the chest. And that's really cool. That's well worth using, and that bot nearly got me killed. I nearly didn't, yeah. Anyway, that bot was, I thought that the bot was the person, and the person was all the way over there. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to try more of this stuff, or you have any ideas on videos that you'd like to see, let me know, and I'll work them out. I'll trial them out. I really was interested. Someone came up with this one and said, hey, you need to low-key, I can't remember who it was who said this, you need to low-key check out the Vector with the 6X. It's really doable, and it's a lot, you know, it's not far off the M416, and like, look at that head down there. Like this is, I've got to sit this reticle right on top. Look at it. And then quick snap over to this bloke over here. Yep, no worries. He was going to tap me out with an M416. No, you don't, buddy. Yeah, this is great. Look after yourselves. As always, remember, if you want to become a member of Patreon and join in the scrims and the squads, that'd be great. That keeps the channel running. If you're a member of Patreon, then that's a monthly subscription fee. It entitles you to join in on the streams, play squads all the time, and use the Discord and the chat there. Until next time, that's patreon.com/thebushka. Until next time, look after yourselves and stay safe on the battlefield. Bye for now.